After a few years at the local theater, some horror movies crept into the television we had quietly sitting in the darkness of our living room. I gripped the arm of the couch as I watched the Chiller Theater television series, and I found myself reliving the nightmare of the top horror movies of the 1950s. Number 5, Indestructible Man. Directed by Jack Pollifin, starring Lon Chaney Jr., Max Showalter, Marion Carr, Ross Elliott, Robert Shane, Stuart Randall, and Ken Terrell. The court decided that the butcher, Benton, would pay for his crimes with his life, but regardless, Benton swears to get his revenge for those who set him up after the bank robbery. After his execution, a bizarre experiment brings his lifeless body back to life.
Why won't the needle penetrate the skin?
Tissue must be nearly a solid mass of cells.
And now Benton is indestructible. Benton's first thoughts to settle scores with that crooked lawyer who double-crossed him and the 2 other criminals. Number 4, Fiend Without a Face. Directed by Arthur Crabtree and starring Marshall Thompson, Kim Parker, Terry Kilburn, Kynaston Reeves, Gil Winfield, and Peter Madden. A scientist becomes obsessed with making thought materialization a reality. He first achieves mind over matter, then his detached thoughts accidentally take on their own life. This invisible monster begins feeding off the mental capacities of its victims and the energy of a nearby atomic plant. The creature soon begins to multiply. That's not what I mean. And when the military and townspeople finally understand what they're dealing with, it suddenly becomes visible. The monsters take on the form of floating brains. Number 3, The Hideous Sun Demon. Directed by Robert Clark and Tom Boustros, and starring Robert Clark, Patricia Manning, Nan Peterson, Fred Laporta, Patrick White, and Robert Gary. An accident at the laboratory exposes a scientist to what should have been a lethal dosage of radiation. He shows no outward effects or burns. His associates explain what happened.
All radioactive material is kept in a lead vault. When we want a particular isotope, we have a little electric train, a toy train like you give your kids for Christmas, which we back into the vault. I see. Well, this morning something happened. Dr. McKenna had just run the train out of the vault when... And you were there, I'm telling.
Well, the train always stops behind a large lead screen before we unload it. Gil, Dr. McKenna, had gone behind the screen to take the container off the train, and, well, it must have fallen to the floor. I was on the other side of the room, and I heard a noise, and he called out to me there had been an accident.
But after sitting in the sun, the scientist's skin changes. The texture of his skin becomes lizard-like. Fortunately, once he's away from the sunlight, he reverts. Under these circumstances, the most natural thing to do is to go to a bar, fall in love, oversleep at the beach, and change back to a lizard again. Number 2, Frankenstein's Daughter. Directed by Richard E. Cunha and starring Sandy Knight, John Ashley, Donald Murphy, Sally Todd, Harold Lloyd Jr., Felix Maurice Locker, and Wolf Barzell. Neighbors tell stories that there is a monster roaming the streets at night. That young woman is named Trudy, and she changes nightly because the grandson of Dr. Frankenstein is secretly experimenting on her by spiking her drinks. While the old teenagers party, Dr. Frank dreams
In these notes of my father's, I will succeed in creating a perfect being. But to do this, we must have the vital organs. Do you understand?
Don't come any closer. Leave me alone.
Where can we get the brain? I need a brain. I need a brain.
Dr. Frank takes one of Trudy's friends and places her brain in the body of a monstrous, hulking man.
Frankenstein's daughter.
Number 1, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Directed by Nathan Jaron and starring Allison Hayes, Yvette Vickers, William Hudson, Ken Terrell, Roy Gordon, and Frank Chase. A huge balloon-like UFO with a 30-foot giant confronts Nancy and tries to grab her.
You've got to believe me.
Please.
It was right in the middle of the highway, 30 feet tall. It lit up the sky.
No one believes her story, including her cheating husband, Harry. But when Nancy and him go to the desert and find it,
It's real! It's real! I'm not crazy, I did see it! It's a satellite!
the monster again grabs Nancy, causing scratches to her throat. After Nancy mysteriously returns home, the doctors discover that something or someone has exposed Nancy to radiation.
Something's happened to Mrs. Archer!
She begins to grow until she reaches the size of 50 feet tall.
He's with that woman! I'll find him!
That's all for today. What was it like to see the horror and sci-fi of the 1950s? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next week for more of my many endless perceptions.